Hello, everybody. My name is Kate. I go by Ghosty Online, and I'm finally back. I actually just recently had my wisdom teeth removed, and I'm kind of still a little bit on the mend for that. And then, if you can hear it in my voice, shortly after I got my wisdom teeth taken out, I got COVID for the first time, which I'm still kind of getting over. But I really wanted to make a video like as soon as I could. For a while there, I could like barely speak. Um, but I really wanted to sit down and make another video and try something a little bit different today. Um, Basically, in all of my previous videos, I've just kind of sat down and it's just been kind of like a string of consciousness like babble. And today I've written more of a script. Hopefully, I won't be like just reading it verbatim. I'm hoping to just use it as more of a reference, and if it goes well, then I'll probably use it as more of a format for my videos going forward. And I guess a big part of the reason why I'm doing this, just as a quick preface, is because I really struggle with just speaking and actually uh, actually saying what it is that I am thinking. But whenever I'm able to sit down and write it out, I'm able to sort of get my thoughts out maybe a little bit more cohesively. So we'll see how it goes. So since I was a kid, I've constantly been struggling to be alone. Um, I definitely feel loneliness. It's something I definitely struggle with. And I definitely have the desire to like be close to other people, have close relationships. I definitely throughout most of my life have sought romantic relationships, have sought love. My opinion on that and my beliefs about that have sort of changed recently, and that's a lot of what I've sort of written and what I want to talk about today. I definitely feel loneliness. I feel like it's just not like I don't feel it the same way as other people, or maybe not as strongly as other people. So I've always been like more comfortable on my own. I've always felt sort of anxious, sort of self-conscious around other people. Whenever I'm alone, that feeling definitely dissipates, or in a lot of circumstances, just completely goes away if I'm in a setting that I'm comfortable with. And more importantly, something that I feel very strongly about is that whenever I'm able to spend time um, by myself in intentional self isolation, I feel like my creativity like really surges. Like I'm able to really be with my thoughts and sort of get like um, my creative desires out more easily. Like it feels more fluid. Um, Despite all this, I feel like throughout most of my life, like there's always been someone looking at my back or like chasing me. Like I've always had someone in my life that um, makes it more difficult for me to successfully self isolate. Whenever I was younger, throughout most of my growing up years, I guess even into my adult years, it was my brother. My brother, and I'm not trying to say any of this to belittle my brother at all. He's a great man, great guy, but he was always like running after me, always seeking after me, always seeking attention from me when we were younger, and I think part of that was like part of it was like the circumstances. Like we were moving around a lot. We, especially when we were very young, lived in closer proximity. We shared a bedroom for a lot of our early growing up years, and then another part of it is because he really loves and desires interaction, attention, and whenever he was younger, he really struggled to make friends, and so I was kind of like his source of attention and interaction, social interaction, and that really like it annoyed me. It got on my nerves. I was constantly trying to uh, get away, and I guess like um, my attitude towards like my feeling of wanting to isolate has changed a lot over time. Um, so because of that, I sort of in my adult life, excuse me, I'm sort of asking myself the question: is loneliness a lifestyle? Like, is it okay to choose to be alone? And why does it feel like every day I am like going about my everyday life and there are these sources of like guilt that come because I choose to be alone, because I choose to spend my time alone or self isolate. So, it, in my efforts to answer this question, I constantly think of everybody's favorite MK Ultra test subject. But I'm not really talking about um, like the extreme of like uprooting your entire life and going to live out in the woods in Montana or whatever or wherever he was. Um, what I'm talking about is like a healthy, intentional self isolation, right? Like seeking your alone time, and even to the extreme that I'm talking about, which would be like um, having people around you, but like spending most of your time alone, like spending most of your time in contemplative situations, trying to seek quiet isolation, that kind of thing. And I don't think that that's like ridiculous. I don't think that that's absurd. What I really want to go on and talk about, though, is the way that we go about our everyday life, and it feels like we're constantly inundated with this messaging that specifically is geared towards trying to push people to seek romantic relationships. So, like, sort of what I looked into and what I've written is most music, especially in the U.S. I can't really speak towards like foreign music for the most part, but in the U.S., like most music released by major labels is based around romance. It's based around romantic love, and the figures on that are kind of hard to like pinpoint exactly because you have a lot of, like, cross sections of genres and stuff like that. But it's mostly about love. If you're gonna watch a movie, you go on to Netflix or whatever, and there's an entire subcategory for romance. But even if you click on action and you want to sit there and watch like a Mission Impossible movie or whatever, there's gonna be a romance inclusion. There's gonna be an arc that includes like a romantic encounter. And I think that it's like it sometimes feels like impossible to get away from this messaging. Like another thing that I mentioned here is the way that social media, especially recently, it feels like every social media app has a dating section, and it feels like it's constantly shoving like online dating down our throats now. And so it feels like, and maybe this is more of an American exclusion discourse that we're having here, but um, it feels like we there is a lot of guilt for people who choose to be alone, for people who choose not to actively seek after romantic relationships, um, and it's like this guilt is like not necessary. It's like, sorry, I'm just coming back to my script here, but it sometimes feels impossible to get away from this messaging, and I wonder, like, why do I have to feel guilt for choosing to be alone? I would argue it's even worse, this feeling of guilt. It's even worse for people who aren't choosing to be alone. Like for me, in my personal circumstance, I'm for the most part choosing to, like, I have my people and I choose to be alone otherwise, and that's okay. That's perfectly fine. But for a lot of people out there, they're not choosing to be alone, and yet they are, and they're spending most of their time alone, and they're still getting this messaging, and that level of guilt is still there despite their efforts to seek relationships of any kind. It could be platonic, but especially in the context of romantic relationships, I feel like there's like this guilt for people who are trying not to. They're trying to be in relationships, trying to have a significant other, and they're, for lack of better words, not able to. They're failing for whatever reason that may be, and that level of guilt is even worse. And the media that we consume, especially, I would say especially music and movies, are really pushing this narrative that like you need to be seeking a romantic relationship. And like before I move forward too much, I should kind of move back a little bit and really talk about like the loneliness as a problem, like loneliness being a problem for so many people. Like I don't think every person needs to like be living on Sesame Street or whatever. Not every person needs to have like this super close knit, like active social community. But I do think that every person needs to have some kind of support network. So every person needs some person. You can't get through everything completely alone. Like if you completely self isolate, even if it is a choice, you are going to drive yourself nuts. And so, while I do think that this narrative around romantic relationships is like pretty damaging, especially for young men, like whenever I go going forward, I'm going to kind of talk about like male loneliness and all of that stuff. But I do think that while this narrative around romance is can be damaging, I do think that having that support network, having people around you that love you, that care about you, that will take care of you if you get sick or whatever the case may be, that is super, super important and something that a lot of people lack, especially because in a lot of cases they lack this support network because they're seeking after non-platonic relationships. I feel like, especially for young men, coming back to the male loneliness thing, excuse me, um, men are constantly seeking after that relationship, and they'll put aside they're constantly seeking after the romantic relationship, and they'll put aside their other relationships in some cases, in their pursuit of that, or even because of their romantic partner or whatever, and they lose a good portion of their solid support network in their effort to, um, I guess, build a support network of their own, build a family, whatever the case may be. Um, let's see here. So I think that ultimately it's about choice, right? So for people who aren't, like I've been talking about male loneliness, for people who aren't um, people who aren't choosing to be alone, it can be really, really hard. But for the people who are choosing to be alone, I feel like that's an okay thing. Like I feel like that there's nothing wrong with choosing to be isolated. And I think that the level to which you choose to isolate yourself is just a conversation that you have with the people that are in your life. Like having the support network is necessary, and people are definitely more complicated. Like attaining the level of seclusion that you need, or the level of socialization that you need, um, is difficult, or it can be difficult even if you have those pre-existing relationships. But ultimately it's just a conversation. Like I can even bring it back to the example that I gave earlier with my brother. So in that circumstance, I was experiencing a lot of annoyance, because of the way that, through a period of years, because of the way that my brother was seeking attention from me. But in reality, that situation was, the impetus was on me to change it. Like I should have sat down with him and had a conversation with him about how his the level of isolation that I needed, that I desired, and that never happened. Of course, easier said than done. People are complicated, but I think that ultimately it's just a conversation. It's like having these people in your life is important. You want to keep these people in your life. Cutting all of them out and going full like Ted Kaczynski or whatever is not really an option if you want to retain your sanity. And so it's so important. It becomes so important to like be sitting down and having these conversations with the people that you love. All that being said, I just want to make it totally clear that I do believe that choosing to be alone is a totally valid way of living. Isolating yourself to a certain extent on purpose is not unhealthy. Like a lot of depictions, especially in movies, media, whatever, you see people that are self isolating and it's a mental health problem. I don't think that's always the case. Um, and choosing to come out of isolation as well, like choosing to self isolate for a period of time and then come out and re socialize, is not like an issue of commitment. It's okay to need those brief periods of, I'm gonna go off and do my own thing and be in a quiet place for a little while and then come back. And I think people need that a lot of people have an issue with accepting that, especially because you people want that constant stream of communication. But I feel like it's so important. I feel like that's a very normal thing. It's so important for people to seek after that like momentary quiet, that momentary isolation. So people are definitely struggling, like I don't want to say any of this to like belittle the issue of loneliness. I guess I've sort of already talked about that, but I want to reiterate, like, people are definitely struggling to date, people are struggling to make friends, and some people are like, myself included, are even struggling to just go out and exist in public spaces and just be in public. I understand that, especially with after COVID and everything, for people like, um, for everyone, like, you had to either re-socialize yourself, or you are still in isolation, right? And I feel like I'm sort of still in the process of like re-socializing myself a little bit, but at the same time, I feel like you have to find that balance of choosing, like, I want to be alone to a certain extent. I don't want to have to reintegrate these certain social aspects into my life. And I feel like that's a perfectly okay thing to do. So I return to the question, is loneliness a lifestyle? And I think undoubtedly yes, but that's like two sides of the same coin, right? You can be like me, and or people, there are like tons of, I'm sure there are tons of people like myself who are perfectly comfortable being by themselves for extended periods of time, days, weeks, months, whatever, and even choose to do that. And then on the other side of that coin, you have people who are alone for days, weeks, months, whatever, despite their desire not to be and despite their effort not to be. So is loneliness a lifestyle? Absolutely yes. But I feel like it's like, it can be so bitter, but it can also be so sweet. I guess depending on the way that you approach it, the way that you see it, the way that it affects you in your everyday life. Um, and yeah, I feel like ultimately what I'm trying to say here, and I feel like I'm just rambling at this point, like I don't really have a whole lot more to say, but ultimately, to like conclude and wrap up my point, is it's okay to choose to be alone. It's okay to limit your exposure to other people. It's okay to, like, it's okay to not want to be in a romantic relationship. It's okay to not seek after those traditional, like, family, atomic family values. None of that is like the wrong way to be. Um, and at the same time, I feel like it's also important to say that so many people experience unwanted loneliness. So like, seek those close support networks. Try, like, reach out to people that you like. If you, I'm sure that there's someone that you think about, that was a fixture in your life in the past, and with the way that we, how connected we are with the internet today, you can reach out to that person. You can talk to people that you used to know, or you can try to meet new people. Like, there are ways to combat loneliness that a lot of people don't take advantage of for no particular reason. I guess part of it's shyness, which I definitely struggle with. Even on the internet, I struggle to send messages to people. Like, I don't really DM people, but those people will DM you. They will message you back. They want, like, people. They will be excited to receive an out of the blue message from you. And so, if you are one of those people who is experiencing unwanted loneliness, there are measures that you can use. Just like for people who want more loneliness, there are measures you can use to, fight or work towards, like, your desired outcome. So anyway, that was maybe a little bit rambly. I hope I got my point across. And hopefully I don't sound too bad in my next video. I'm really hoping that by the time I make my next video, I'll be totally healthy again. But yeah, it's been fun talking, and I'll see you next time. Thank you so much.